the Pod Network Entertainment.
You're listening to adoboTalks podcast, The Business of Creativity, a series of high-level inspirational and educational sessions on how creativity unleashes inventive solutions that fuel the economy. In each episode, we'll be learning essential lessons through conversations with some of the brightest minds in the creative industries. I'm Angel Guerrero, founder, president, and editor-in-chief of Adobo Magazine. On today's episode, we're joined by the founding partner of one of Philippines' most talked about creative agencies, whose award-winning works have stretched the boundaries of Filipino creativity with out-of-the-box yet effective concepts. Under his leadership, Gigil has won numerous medals in local and international competitions, including the APAC Effies, the Clios, Spikes Asia YouTube Awards, and the Tambuli Awards, and more. Correct? But with me today is one of the brains behind Gigil, Badong Abesamis.
Hi, Angel.
Hi there, glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us today, Badong. I've been trying to get you on the hot seat for quite a while.
Thanks for the invite.
Not at all. So everyone's eager to know how Gigil started and how you come up with these wacky ideas. But before that, I'd like to ask you about your time in advertising, how you started in advertising, knowing that you're actually a teacher in Savior School. And curiously, what did that teach you? And is there a side of you that's still, there a side of you from being a teacher that's still in you while you're, working Gigil?
I went back to Xavier to teach. I had studied there. My grade school years and my high school years were spent at Xavier. And so after university, I decided to, give back and teach religion and Filipino. And so perhaps what I took from that particular experience to advertising is that nothing worthwhile comes easy. Really, I thought it was going to be like a walk in the park, being
Right.
an alumnus of Xavier, but it was tough work. So the experience of like teaching and discovering that it wasn't exactly for me hit home the idea that you've got to work hard for what you want. So I took that and I shifted to advertising.
So you were a teacher for 3 years.
For 3 years.
Well, that's quite, well, I would say long for some. I mean, it was a hard 3 years for you teaching religion and Filipino. And then you jumped into copywriting,
Copywriting.
right? You discovered that you could write, I guess. What made you want to, pivot to advertising and as a copywriter? And what attracted you about advertising? Coming from, say, a religious background, for instance, all of a sudden advertising. Oh, we're sort of a...
No,
I don't know.
not exactly.
Well,
It used to be my teachers were telling me that advertising is an industry anchored on lies.
yeah, that's
But
why.
but once I shifted to advertising,
You realize
I met
it's not,
I
of
met the
course
most
not.
honest people in my life in advertising and in the industry, and the truth is a central weapon of advertising. You can't sell without telling the truth. So I shifted. I was always like being I was always the go-to guy in my younger years for creative stuff, and so I said, why not give it a shot? Why not give it a shot? And so I went to a local agency, Avellana. I was fortunate to have been given a big brand, PLDT, to handle as a junior copywriter. Enough for me to be able to put together a good book to use in terms of like showing other agencies like McCann Erickson that I had it in me to make it in bigger agencies. I knocked on the door of McCann. They opened it, took me in, and showed me to the beer group.
Yeah, talking about that. So, I mean, of course, when you started in Avellana as a copywriter and you were given a great account and you knew it was a shift from teaching, right? So what did you pick up from Avellana and why did you want to continue to pursue advertising? As you say, you have to work hard and you don't know, you pivoted. How was that discovery of that advertising is for you or copywriting is for
The experience of PLDT was okay. I mean, I did a couple of good pieces, good films. Again, enough for me to be noticed by Bogey and the people in McCann, and who took me in for the beer group to staff the beer group with. There, so I thought that was a sign that
right?
possibly there is something in this for me. enough for me to pursue it and try to learn some more in agencies like McCann and LiberNet and Saatchi and
So
TVWA
talking
and
about
such.
McCann, Badong and I used to work together in McCann many years ago, and we were working towards doing great work for international competition, and that was something I appreciated very much at Badong because his ambition was goes beyond just doing the work, but really getting global recognition. And I knew that there was a rigor in what you did in McCann. So yeah, we did work together many years ago.
Angel was our account director for
Yes, our
several
account director.
brands.
I was championing creativity even then. So it's lovely to meet you again here today and sitting down here after so many years. So you went to McCann and you went to Burnett. You had a stint. Did you have a stint in TBWA?
Yes,
And
TVWA,
then
Saatchi,
Saatchi,
YNR.
YNR. Okay, so you had a lot going. And I'm sure these agencies taught you something along the way. And you must have been taught by mentors, or do you call them mentoring, or was it I don't know, explain about your journey through these agencies, what you picked up along the way.
I can't really claim that they were my mentors, but I
Sure.
was exposed enough to them to have been able to pick up a couple of things. Like for example, in McCann, of course,
Yes,
Emily
Emily
Abrera.
Abrera.
There's more to advertising than just selling. Advertising has a responsibility to society. Richard Irvin, a lovely boss, taught us that the day job is not really the initiative that you want to turn in a good piece so that you can like win a shiny trophy in
Trophy, yeah.
Cannes. It's not that. The day job is really trying to do good work on real briefs that land on your table. Then hopefully enter them in award shows.
Well, that's a good thing to be taught early on, and I'm glad Richard Irvin was really
Richard
into
was
that.
was
Yeah.
instrumental in inculcating that in us. Melvin, of course, Melvin
From
Mangada.
TBWA. Yeah.
TBWA. Ton Puno, the other partner in TBWA, has always like admitted that it was Melvin that opened his eyes to beauty. And that's some.
Isn't that nice thing to say?
That's quite a statement coming from Tong Puno, because Melvin believes that we have to create beauty in the realm of advertising, but also outside of it, see beauty. Do go to art shows, go to art exhibits, because these things eventually find their way back to the work and enriches the work and makes the work even more beautiful. And then, of course, in YNR, I was exposed to Tony Granger and Marcus Rubicini, who invited me
Yeah,
to
in
regional
YNR,
shows.
sorry. In YNR, you're already the ECD.
The
You're the
CCO.
top CCO. You were already, in YNR, you got the top job. Therefore, your mentors were Tony Granger, who's a worldwide CEO of YNR then, right? And Marcus Rubicini was
Regional.
yeah.
Regional APAC. So, having been invited to regional reviews and global reviews, I was initiated into the thinking that if you think you're good, the world is better than you. But they also gave confidence in me and Filipinos that we can be as good as the best of them in the world.
So that journey really sounds great. It's foundational, I guess, for you being who you are today. So, with all the jobs that you've had in multinationals, you decided to shift from all of that and form your own independent agency. What was in your head then? Why did you want to form your own
In
agency?
2017, I was invited to head another multinational agency in terms of like the creative department, and I was thinking it's going to be the same gig. So I had talked to Herbert Hernandez, my partner, and we decided to set up our own shop.
So, was there fear in startups? Was there, I mean, you're both creative. Running a business is no joke. So,
Of course, the possibility of failure is always there.
yeah.
So that was very real to us. But we were inspired by our forebears in terms of like setting up creative agencies for themselves and surviving and even thriving. When I was
Yeah.
starting out, it was really Jimenez and partners.
Yeah, so you were able to talk to Mon Jimenez.
No, I was. In fact, I wasn't.
Oh.
But he's a guiding light. He's a guiding light because during my time when I was a junior, they were the creative agency.
And
in-
indie at that. They were
Indie,
independent
before
at
they
that.
were-
Yeah, and they were huge.
They were bought out.
So that was
Yes.
sort of your north light. You're like saying, okay, they've
Yeah,
done it.
yeah,
Let's
and-
see if we can do it.
TBWA also, in a sense, has done it.
That's right.
In
That's
in,
right.
in 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 more senses than one. TBWA has done it as well. And so there have been successes enough for us to feel that it can be done, although failure is a possibility, that if we put our minds and our hearts to this, we can also make it.
So I'm going to talk about the business side of things, right? When you run an agency, you're two creative people. You need to learn about HR, financial systems, and all of that. How did you manage that?
Barely, barely.
Because I always
For
know
some
that,
people,
yeah.
yeah, for some people who actually consider me as a source of advice in terms of these things, and uh, and there haven't been many. I tell them that from the very start, you should have a good money person.
Yeah.
It's romantic. It's too romantic to think that you can run this endeavor with just good ideas. I mean, that is a substantial part of the deal.
Sure.
But you have to have a good money person from the very start. In fact, right now we're actually reaping the consequences of not having invested much or rightly in terms of like casting a guy to help us out in terms of taxes and such.
So how
So
many
that's
years,
my advice.
But how many years on are you now?
We're turning 7.
7. Okay. 7 and still young and still independent and doing amazing, incredible work and growing so fast. I remember when you guys first started, of course, it was a lot of local brands, right? And then you got a lot of regional clients. So well done on what you're doing. Now, you're one of the country's most successful independent ad agencies, known for your weird, out of this world kind of ideas. And if I'm not mistaken, the only one that really put you on the map was this surreal RC Cola
Cola.
campaign that broke everything. I mean, the world was listening to you. I remember who was the guy on Burger King? Machado.
Machado, yeah.
Machado caught it and said, "This is fantastic," and the world sort of sat up and say, "Who's behind this RC Cola campaign?" Not only that, the Filipinos were talking. All of a sudden, RC Cola became part of pop culture, which is something new for advertising campaigns. Nobody talks about ads as much as they did for RC Cola. Now, tell us a little bit about how you created this campaign. How did it come about?
So RC used to be known as the affordable cola or affordable soft drink in the provinces. But pretty soon, the government slapped the sugar tax. And so that particular equity, if you can call it that, was wiped out. So given that particular episode, if you are at the Sari Sari store, what would make you actually choose RC over Coca-Cola? They're priced the same.
Priced the same, okay.
And Coca-Cola is just so much stronger a brand than RC Cola. And so at that time, they approached us and asked us to try to help them figure things out. And we were thinking, maybe there's merit in looking into Gen Z, for example, as a market, because we all know that Gen X and Gen Y are captured by Coca-Cola already. And then researching into Gen Z, we realized that they're altogether a different breed. I mean, Gen Z is very random, very uncurated, very spontaneous. Ask them about certain things, and then they can't actually tell you, basta, gusto kong gawin yan. Basta, I want to
Yeah,
drink
that was
this
their
particular
attitude.
cola.
Yeah.
Basta.
Basta. Okay.
And so we thought maybe there's something there in terms of a campaign, linking basta as a zeitgeist or as a way of thinking, a mentality to RC Cola, so much so that Gen Z possibly can see themselves in the brand and say that this is for me. Also, it allows us a certain, no, not really a certain, a wide latitude in terms of creative executions because we can go very, very
It was very,
wild
very
and
wild.
weird.
It was
and then
so
attach a
wild.
line, whatever, and then RC Cola or basta.
Basta RC Cola.
RC Cola.
Yeah.
So that was the thinking behind that, and thankfully it was successful for the brand. It built the sales 67% pre versus post, enough
That's
to be
significant.
recognized by the
67% is very significant.
enough to be recognized by the APAC FEs, and it won us our second APAC FEs as an agency. So, who Marius Talampas also
Yes.
was instrumental
Okay,
in
he's a director that
in helping us
you use a
in
lot.
collaborating with us and also being able to fashion a certain piece of work that that particular time luckily for us resonated with people.
Yeah, it seems to be how do you call it? They can tell when it's a Gigil campaign and a Marius campaign when they see a certain, sense of humor, storytelling, and all that. It just wakes everybody up. I mean, the stuff you do. But I have to say, in the agency, when you're storyboarding, you think of ideas. Who would think of having 6 glasses of cup on the back of a guy, or a mother whose head is a cola? I mean, that's so wild. And the fact that client bought it is also crazy that they did. So, what was the process like for them to approve something that crazy? It's a crazy, weird
It was an
board.
opportune time as well because they were also like searching for themselves as a brand. So when the chips are down, you're more open to newer ways of doing things. Of course, we live in a social media era, and so people want to be shareable in terms of their materials. And we have discovered earlier on that we've taken the cue from people from abroad that to be shareable, you have to entertain. You have to entertain. We're not our materials are not really going against the materials of Coke, for example, or Sprite. They're going against the materials of the content creators
I see. So
of
that's
the
the
world
context. You're
over.
looking at the
It
what's
has
out
to
there.
be
It has
it
to
has to be
be.
stories. It has to be things that people engage with. Um, RC doesn't have the budget of Coke. But if the material is interesting, people themselves will be the fuel in terms of propagating the material. Put it on social, they like it, they share it amongst their friends. Even if you only have X number of monies, you will reach X number of people because the material is entertaining. So we believe in earned media because we live in a social world. So we try to make things as entertaining as possible, as shareable as possible. And we were saying that Anselmo Ramos has given the advice that it used to be that campaigns during our time had to be 360 degrees. It has to be ubiquitous. Now, with the media fragmented, it's enough to be 5%, but make the 5% shareable. So that's the thing that we bring to clients as a thinking. And for RC Cola, which was the watershed in our agency, in our life as an agency, that luckily worked.
And well done on your effies for that. And you continue to have sustaining campaigns for our
RC Cola,
Arsicola.
yes.
And I remember you had an Oricon can that everyone was talking about. And then you did cheese brand, another one.
Gaines.
So it seems like every commercial just got, you guys noticed. Ad Age wrote about you guys. And they couldn't help but pick you guys up. And so that's really great. Now, going back to pitching ideas, of course, RC Cola, they bought into it. And there are other brands that other agencies would find hard to sell that kind of campaign to their clients. But you were able to do it across brands, from Netflix to TNT Smart. I mean, incredible work. And you were able to sell. What's your magic potion that no, seriously, I'm telling you, creatives say it's so hard to sell to client. What do you think it takes to sell ideas that are as wacky but thankfully very effective to clients? How do you do it?
I think the results help us out. The results, for example, of RC we bring to client. The result of Grab we bring to other clients. The result that we have for Netflix we bring to client. Um, and the agency is not just all about weird. We've done a lot of things. Like for example, for Levi's, our first
Yeah, I
APAC
remember that.
piece was about a father who bought a denim from Levi's, a denim jacket, and had it studded in store for his blind son for Christmas.
So it's like a braille.
Braille.
Yeah,
Yeah.
buttons. Yeah.
So that was emotional and not weird. And
Correct,
that built the
correct.
business 16% year on year. RC Cola built the business 67% for all the weirdness that RC was. Netflix, we sort of like told the story of the MOA Globe disappearing for a movie called Red Notice, a heist movie called Red Notice. And that made the movie, I believe, number one for 12 days and then in the top 10 for 6 more weeks. So all of those pieces were of different like genres,
Yeah.
not just weird. But luckily, all of those also
Work.
built the business and we're recognized by the APAC FEs. So we bring those to client to tell client that interesting stuff deliver interesting results.
So you're actually building the case for creative effectiveness. Um, and as you said, the reason why client buys into your ideas is first you show a portfolio of work that you've proven that it works in the market and it works for the brands. Therefore, with that, correct me if I'm wrong, the clients become braver because they've seen all the work you've done that's quite different or weird or emotional as you call it. But because you have the figures to prove it, it's an easier way in.
Yes, yes, yes. Because basically that's the reason why they come to us. They don't come to us because we win awards in Cannes. They come to us because they want us to build their brands and because they want us to sell their products. And we take that seriously. It's not really, our initiatives that we send out. We try to do good work on the real briefs. And then a byproduct is Cannes, for example, if you're lucky.
It's still important to
AdFest.
win these awards.
Of
Why?
course.
Why do you say that?
Cannes and
Yes,
no,
and
but,
everything. No, I mean
because
for the young ones here, that they say why we
because
doing.
we're creative creatures. We're creative creatures, and validation is very important. And of course, it's important to win because it's an indication that the idea was good. And we have to come up with good ideas because only good ideas deliver business results. But it's
I
really
love that you're saying keep saying that, and we should remember that as an industry that work that works is very important. But if it's a great idea, you can get recognition through the award
yes, yes,
shows.
yes. That's a thing that has worked for us. Um, try not to be distracted. The north star is really client's business. Take care of client's business, but you can't take care of client's business without giving them good ideas, or else they will just um, you know um, do the ideas themselves, or rely on
Which they
AI.
could with AI.
Rely on AI.
Yeah.
But hopefully having demonstrated that we can deliver business results via ideas that are interesting, we can be relied upon as a partner that's marketing effective, that can build their business. That's the thing that we want to be known for. Not
I
exactly
know you're saying that to me.
weird,
We get what you're trying to say,
but
but you come up with really incredible work. I mean, for me, I've been covering the industry for a very long time, and every time I see your work, like, damn, that's really good. Now, what's the creative department like, or the agency culture? I mean, for you to come up with such interesting, you know, out of this world ideas. What environment do you have in your creative department? What's it like?
nothing very different from the environment in McCann and Liverpool at Saatchi or at
Seriously?
RTBWA.
Seriously, there's no one there really being wacky and no.
It really is not being afraid to do hard work, um, and trying to not to stop until you come up with something interesting and entertaining. And then when you have enough, then bringing it to client and fighting that.
So I think you're saying try not to stop when the eyes is don't stop there. Is that how you guide your creatives? Don't stop there. Keep at it.
Yes, yes. Until you come up with an idea that you're confident enough that you yourself will share, or
Your target
your
market was.
enemy will share because it's
Yes,
so
it's so
interesting.
interesting. That's true.
Then don't stop. It has to be shareable. It has to be
No,
entertaining.
I like what you said earlier on, where you're not competing against the ads of your competitors. You're actually competing against the time that people have to consume content. So if you're hitting Gen Z, you make sure it's entertaining for the Gen Z or for your market. So and being entertaining as is the key measure, correct?
Yeah, I read an article in Adobo, your interview with Jury
Jury
Porn
porn.
in DNAD, which is so true. I also remember in the 90s, I think it was an ad locally of Low, of Mr. Raul Castro, in which he was saying that, we come up with materials that are more interesting than the actual shows in which our commercials appear. The commercial segment is more interesting than the actual show in which those commercials appear. So it's always been that it has to be entertaining, and I think if we don't forget that, we should be in a good spot as an industry.
So there are a lot of young people in our industry who's trying to find a way to break the mold of what they do day to day and what they churn out for certain brands against very difficult briefs and creative boundaries. So, what advice would you give these young creatives who are struggling to get into this space of being really hyper creative? Or it's a tough one. What advice would you give the young ones who are trying, but maybe many times not succeeding?
Just don't stop. I mean, just keep at it. Keep at it. Yeah, expose yourself to the best of the world. Keep at it. Find some mentors. Go in a space in which your hyper creativity, quote unquote, is developed.
Yeah, that's the theme of the kid lot this year.
Yes, hyper
Hyper
creativity.
creativity.
So don't stop. Don't stop.
Well, that's great advice from you. Now, how do you avoid pushing forward with ideas that are just weird for weird's sake? Do you fall into that? Like, I'm just doing it because we're known for that. Let's just keep doing weird stuff. And how do you evaluate something if it's just a stunt or attention grabbing message? Right? You can fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's an easy trap to fall into if we haven't already. If we haven't already, but again, the thing that the thing that guides us is that all of the stuff that you try to do are based on insight, human insight. Like for example, Levi's is all about the tailor shop. It's a product truth. The Moa Globe stunt of Netflix is all about the heist movie, and so we heisted the globe. So everything is based on either a human insight or a product truth. And if you're,
By the way, I was
don't-
going to ask, how about product truth and human insight? Do your ads get tested, link tests or whatever? Because I can't imagine.
no.
I can't imagine your ads being link tests and getting high scores. People will say it's too crazy. I can't.
Because I think exposing ideas to FGDs is pretty much like AI. It's always looking back at what has succeeded before. It's always normative. People will always respond to a certain stimulus using the benchmark of stuff that they've seen before.
Yeah.
So, and that's the advantage of human creativity, which AI can never equal.
do.
Because we always are looking for fresh things, fresh combinations, future forward, rather than looking at success formulas and then projecting them to the future.
Now, Gigil has a known style, right? I mean, people know your work and
Which is
come up with crazy ideas. Or just ideas that never seen before, connecting stuff we've never seen before. I mean, I remember your TNT spot where it's about registering your SIM card. Boy, is that wacky. Who would have ever thought about an idea like that? So really nuts. Do you want to be, are there more traditional campaigns that you feel Gigil should be recognized for, or it doesn't really matter to you?
we have actually like
You did say.
OOH, we did come up with billboards for Trece, a Netflix property, a Netflix title. Right now, there's a close-up billboard that hopefully also helps in celebrating Pride Month.
Oh, I love that billboard. The two.
Yes, the two,
Yeah, it's out
yeah.
now. Yeah.
So we have done more than weird. We have done more than weird.
Okay.
But I hear you in that being associated to a house style.
Yeah, like
It's not
humor,
good. It's not good.
storytelling.
It's not good. So we're also trying to develop other spheres use other colors in the palette.
Yeah, I see that. I see your work for Netflix is also different, and but in your films, right? You tend to work with a certain director, right, Marius. The combination seems to work because a lot of the campaigns were directed by him. I mean, there is a very fresh execution when we realized, oh my God, who's doing all these campaigns? They're really great, right? How did your relationship with director Marius start?
It was earlier on in our career as an agency, and also I hear in the career of Marius, Herbert saw his work on social. I saw it as well, but it was Herbert who saw it and then mentioned it to me. Why don't we work with this director? And said, yeah, let's try. And then the first piece that he ever directed for a commercial brand was not so much for a commercial brand. Consulta MD. It was
Okay.
the medical program of the Ayalas.
Yes.
Under Globe, teleconsulting. It sounds like Jurassic
Yeah.
from the Jurassic Age. So teleconsulting. And so he did that particular piece, which really went around as well. He just gets humor. He knows humor, and I think in the Philippines, without really due respect to all of the other directors, he's the one that sort of like knows it best for us. So from that point on in 2017, we had worked with him for more than like 20 projects.
Oh, yeah.
20 projects. So it
So you
has
can actually,
been
the signature, you can know,
yeah,
you sort of know that's Gigil and that's
yeah,
Marius.
yeah.
But don't worry, it's not cliche or anything. Everybody who sees it, there's always a fresh story. I think it's the magic's in the story, but the style is sort of, you sort of expect that. Um, yeah, talking about style, what was I going to ask you? Yeah, the of course, the Thai ad industry. I'm going to ask you this. The Thai ad industry is saying, oh, Philippines is doing ads like us. Was it intentional? Because Thailand have always used humor. And then when they saw the work, of course, people in advertising, not the Filipinos public, are saying, oh, that's so Thai. I mean, do you get that
Of course, they
reaction
were
as
they were
well?
an inspiration, in as
Yeah.
much as I think American advertising also was an inspiration to them. I mean,
Yeah.
I do believe that humor is not really a province of any nationality. I mean, it can't be contained by a nation's boundaries. It's a universal experience that people want to revel in. So why don't you use that in terms of trying to entertain people, to sell a brand or pitch a message? So I think we have the same right to make use of humor
And it's humor that
yeah,
Filipinos,
yeah,
adapt to or they understand is universally loved and understood.
yeah. We sometimes go to Thailand to shoot some
Some
films as
stuff as well.
well.
Because,
So
yeah.
we did that for Grab as well. And
Oh, okay.
I luckily for me, I didn't really like hear it from them that we sort of like
Well, I,
are
I hear it.
we sort of like are stealing their copyright on
Right.
humor.
No, no,
No,
you
no,
no,
no.
no. It's just you can't help it that, you've
Everybody
broken
uses
you've
humor.
broken the mold
All
here in
across
this
the world,
country.
everyone uses humor anyway.
Now, of course, the story of Gigil, 7 years on, winning so many awards, Effies. I'm sure there are also difficult clients who don't approve. What happens when the client says, no, I don't like it? What do you do?
We still do the work.
You still do the
Yeah, we still
work.
do the work. We still see it through and finish the work and close the loop. And then we sort of like talk again and see whether we can pursue the relationship or
Or
just
not.
separate as friends.
Okay, it wasn't smooth all the way, of course, for Gigil. There were moments where boom, crash, bang, cancel culture, something happened, and you guys are in a bad place. How did you overcome that? How did you overcome such a big, push against the agency and some one of the work that you guys did? How did you deal with that? I'm sure everybody wants to know. They want me to ask this question.
That's okay. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. So it was an existential crisis in the agency. It wasn't easy. But we apologized for it, and then we learned from it, and then we soldiered on, knowing that if we just concentrate and do stuff that is entertaining, of course, informed by this particular experience, that you have to ask whether is the material entertaining and sensitive. So just do the work, try to do your best still, and hopefully your way out of the woods is precisely that.
And you said you
So
didn't want that for any
no,
agency,
not
and
not
it was
even for
painful.
very painful, very painful. So I wouldn't wish it for my fiercest critics. No.
Well, you passed that hurdle by doing good work across bands, and as you say, you have to be sensitive and make sure that the work is accepted by the community overall. So that's something we can learn from Badong: is soldier on, do the great work, and be sensitive to. The message you want to put out to the audience that it's trying to target. Now, I want to ask you a question about, unique Filipino characteristics. What is a Filipino ad? Every time you see a Thai ad, you know it's Thai. Is there such a thing as this is an ad from the Philippines? It's a Filipino ad,
I don't really know.
and then,
It's
yeah,
not for us to define.
yeah.
It's just for us to make use of the things that we see in culture, ride on those things or use those things in our pieces. Try to make an entertaining turn out of them, and then we'll see where these pieces take us.
Yeah.
So I don't really know whether there's a definition for that. So I guess in like 20 years time, people can look back and define it for us, but we're not in the business of defining what Filipino advertising is. We just do our best on briefs, trying to make them entertaining so that we sell our clients' pieces. And then hopefully if history is kind enough to us and still remember our pieces 20 years on, maybe there's an element in it that sort of like defines a certain element in Filipino advertising. I don't know, but we don't have a definition.
So Gigil's done so well. 7 years on, you get lots of business. You must have grown hundreds and hundreds of percents. I don't know how many percent you've grown in 7 years. You're in a very good space now financially, of course, reputation-wise. Do you think there's anybody or has anybody approached you, a multinational, saying, I want to buy your agency?
There have been calls, but nothing serious. And
Is that a plan? I mean, is that one thing you're looking?
in the beginning, yeah, it was because our predecessors, to an extent, did that as well. But we have been exposed to other models also abroad,
Where
or
independence work
could be rethink
the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were saying that it's also a valid business proposition to stay independent, and so we're not seriously like considering cashing out anytime soon.
That's
We're still
good.
enjoying the game, Herbert,
Yeah,
I
that's good.
and Jake. So as long as I guess we're still of service to, this is so cliche. As long as we're enjoying it,
Yeah.
I guess we'll be staying.
Well, that's good to hear. Thank you very much. Now, one last question. We want to know a little more about you. What's the weirdest thing about you that we don't know? I mean, you're pretty, pragmatic the way you do things. Your thought is very considered. What's the weirdest thing about you?
Thank you for emailing in that question earlier on. So I thought about it, and I guess I'm an introvert. Basically, I'm an introvert in a world of noisy advertising. But I've discovered that in my 25 years here that there are many people who are also as introverted as I am. And so perhaps it's not a weird thing.
It's not a weird thing.
No.
Well, thank you very much, Badong. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Tell us, you were able to tell us about Gigil and your belief system in how you do creative work that works. And that's how you've been able to sell your campaigns to clients. And there is hope for all of us, all the creatives out there, to just not stop thinking about great work and always have a great portfolio of work that works.
Work that works.
Well, thank you very much, Badong.
Salamat for the invite.
Yep, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for your time. And Badong, for your and for continuing to push the limits of creativity the way you do. The adoboTalks podcast, The Business of Creativity, is available on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Adobo Magazine's platforms. The adoboTalks podcast, The Business of Creativity, is produced by Adobo Magazine, The Word on Creativity, in partnership with the Pod Network, and recorded in partnership with Hit Productions. Thank you.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.